here's Brody Brazil.
As you probably already know, the Smith Entertainment Group owns Delta Center. They own the Utah Jazz. They now own the brand new Utah Hockey Club, the former Arizona Coyotes. And they want to surround all of that. There are two teams, and they're building with a brand new entertainment district. In order for that to happen, there's a number of different steps that need to happen, kind of in sequential order. What I can tell you is here on a Tuesday night, on July 9th, 2024, the very first step of getting that done has now taken place. It's passed through a vote by the Salt Lake City Council. It moves things on to the very next thing in order. And if you look at the overall sequence here, it's going to be quick. If this thing gets approved, most of it's going to happen by the end of this calendar year. But in this video, we'll talk about the very first vote that passed, what people thought of it. Before I get to the immediate new details, I need to kind of go back on the agreement details. This is what they were voting on. Originally, back in February, SB 272, Senate Bill 272, that was approved by the Utah State Legislature. It approved $900 million in bonds to revitalize a downtown arena situation, either build something brand new or fix up Delta Center. Well, SCG, the Smith Entertainment Group, divided it like this. They said they wanted to spend $525 upgrading Delta Center and the remaining $375 to fix up the 2 blocks east and start to make up this downtown district. They also have said that they will commit about $3 billion of their own money to this project. But again, more on that and the land lease from the county in just a second. To go along with getting this public money, which is going to be raised through a 0.5% sales tax, there's a 30-year pledge for the Jazz and the hockey team to basically play all of their home games at Delta Center. It's a non-relocation agreement. It's called a pledge, but really a non-relocation agreement. And the projects tied to the public money, the $900 million part, all of that needs to be completed by 2034. Otherwise, the available money to this project expires. Now, just kind of visualizing this site, here's an older image showing you the 100 acres. Initially, we thought it was just going to be the couple blocks east of Delta Center, but now it includes some land to the west and the northwest, including that shopping center right across the street from Delta Center. That's one view of it. Here's a brand new image we got as part of this process. This shows you a little bit more in depth and in 3 dimensions here. Some residential, some hotel space, some entertainment space, and you can see how that residential and hotel space, it's got some high rises to it. That's another part of this process. SEG wants the approvals to build, I think, buildings higher than 40 stories and about 600 feet tall, which is presently, to my understanding, not permitted. They want the approvals to kind of be able to build whatever they want on that land, which they still have to somehow lease from Salt Lake County. Now, details on that, I've yet to find out or understand or comprehend, or they're certainly not public. Maybe they're in negotiation. But obviously, the Smith Group is getting $900 million of public funding for this project. How will they acquire the land? Will they be paying for that? Will the county be giving that to them on a very good deal? Will it come with income taxes and property taxes? Again, acquiring that land that they want to build this project on, a lot remains to be seen there. Going back to the $900 million part, here's what we know about that. It's a 0.5% sales tax increase, which would pay off these 30-year bonds to get to $900 million. Salt Lake City Council, they still have to approve the tax increase in this calendar year of 2024. So I'll tell you about September 1st in just a second, why that date's important. The city says they'll have no obligation or liability to fund gaps if the tax doesn't fully service the bonds. Essentially, if that 0.5% sales tax, if there's not enough economy to create the money to generate paying back those bonds and servicing the bonds, they're not obligated, they're not liable for that. I'm assuming SEG is in part responsible for that, but again, I don't understand that information yet either. SEG, as I told you before, needs to lease the 2 blocks east of Delta Center with the county. We don't know the terms on that. And like I also just mentioned, zoning changes allow 40-plus stories and 600-foot tall buildings in this entertainment district. Okay, so the vote, it passed unanimously on Tuesday night with the Salt Lake City Council. It was all based on this 136-page document, which now, since it's initially been approved, it goes to a state committee. They're going to look at it, And then if they agree with it, they'll send it back to the Salt Lake City Council for final approval. And that vote can take place probably later this summer, no later than September 1st, which I'm about to explain here. Now, I should also be fair. There was some opposition at the City Council meeting tonight, in a sense that there were comments made going against this project and the public funding towards it. You already understand that the $900 million has been approved months ago. But now they're devising the plan of actually how to spend it, how to utilize it, and how to spread it around. So there were comments made. There were also protesters who showed up. They're wondering, like a lot of cities around the country, why public money should be spent on what ultimately turns out to be a private entity, and specifically in the sports-related business, why teams are getting this money instead of other public things that need public money. So an agreement must now be approved. This final agreement, or the final vote on this, it actually has to happen by September 1st so that the City Council can vote on it as well as that 0.5% sales tax. It is kind of amazing here, right? The wheels have been turning on this only since February. And it was the end of February when this happened. Here we are at the beginning of July, and we're already close to final approval. Within what, 8 months? Maybe this thing could be wrapped up entirely, 7 months? Think about March, April, May, June, July, August, September, 7 months. This could all be a done deal from inception to final approval of $900 million and how to spend it. The vote, also with the agreement, included a lengthy, quote, legislative intent notice. KSL Television reports that this outlines goals that the City Council would like the agreement to include before final approval, but they aren't binding conditions. Now, I don't know a lot about negotiations at this level, but if you want something, you better make sure it's part of the binding conditions and not something that you're hoping to sneak in there from the city side. Let's get some reaction from the people that actually voted on this. Victoria Petro is the City Council's chairwoman. Victoria says, quote, "This is a good agreement that brings good things to the city. As we move forward with this, I'm sorry for the people who feel against and fear the fear. But I've moved on from fear to determination. It is scary and big, but it's in the best interest." Which is interesting to acknowledge the scary part and the fear part of maybe giving so much public money away and even more land away and opportunity away and not being in total control of the situation. I mean, look, you'd have to understand that the hope and the optimism is there, but the certainty is not necessarily there of how exactly this is going to all work out downtown. Here's some more reaction, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Alejandro Puy, quote, "While I might disappoint some of you by supporting this, I think this opportunity will never come again to us. And a dying downtown is the worst that could happen to all of our districts." Alejandro is a city council member. So again, another quote which recognizes pure opposition but says, I think we got to do this. The pressure's on. I don't know if we'll have another crack at this. We're going to take this chance and run with it. Salt Lake City's mayor, Aaron Mendenhall, said, quote, "This is a catalytic day for Salt Lake City because it's about much more than sports and entertainment. It's about the future of downtown. It's about anchoring all of these institutions and making sure that our future is a strong one for the entire city." So the next steps go like this. Eventually, this needs to go to the state, which it now will, and then back to the city council. They need to approve or reject this project area and participation agreement. Again, they also need to have that sales tax with city council approval by September 1st so that they can engage it by the end of the calendar year. And then SEG still needs to negotiate and execute a lease with the county on or before July 1st of next summer so that that property can be fully developed east of Delta Center. I think the takeaways are this. Number one, this kind of goes against what we've seen in a lot of markets across the country. Like I said before, cities and counties and public entities, they're going against largely supporting public or private ventures by sports companies and teams and businesses to this degree. like $900 million plus other incentives and land. And that's a lot to give to the Smith Entertainment Group. And granted, if they do, I hope things work well. I don't want this to not work out for everybody. I just question the process leading up to it. And also the other big part about this is how fast it's going. I mean, again, 7 months from start to finish. They didn't even have a hockey team when this was in the conversation. It was the premise of maybe someday getting an expansion team down the road. They have utilized this $900 million almost like it's burning a hole in their pocket. So the speed at which all of this is happening is tremendous. And like I said, I'm not a Utahn. I don't necessarily have the rooting interest in this one way or the other. I want to make that very clear. If this really is in the best interest, and if this works out for everybody, if this is what the majority wants, then I hope the majority gets it. But in this case, I mean, it's never really going to get to a public vote. This is all city council stuff. This all seems like it's bang, 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 one step after the next, and it might just float right through real quick. So at this point, I don't see it turning any other direction. I do see this happening, but happening quite quick is the takeaway. Hey, you've made it here to the end of this video. You know I really appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. That'll greatly help me, this video, and this channel. I would like the thumbs up down below, but I would also love it if you go down there right now and hit that subscribe button, because I want to see you back here next time, and subscribing to this channel is the best way to make sure that happens.